the news from literally today, the Knicks let go of head coach Tom Thibodeau after 5 seasons as head coach. What are you thinking? What are you hearing about what led to that firing?
I think just a difference in philosophy over time, just like any coach. I think and their players. I think anytime you after a while hear the same voice and yelling all over again, I think players stop responding to that. I had been hearing probably 2 weeks prior, I got a phone call um, that said, Scoop, if they don't win the Eastern Conference Finals, Tibbs is out. And I said, you're lying. And I had been hearing it. And they said to me, the person who called me said 2 weeks ago said, and if he gets fired, two names I'm hearing, Mike Malone and Lloyd Pierce. And I tweeted that today, and I actually wrote an article today that you can find in the blog section of scoopy.com where I dissected that. And my colleague Frank Isola tweeted earlier, Jason Kidd question mark as a potential candidate there. Of course, Jason Kidd's still the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. I inquired from folks without around the league and their thought process. They don't see it. I know that the Knicks 5 years ago, when Jay Kidd was still an assistant coach under Frank Vogel with the Lakers, I know that Jason Kidd did consider it the head coaching position that was vacant at the time. And I know that LeBron James was very influential in asking Jay Kidd to stay. 5 years later, the Dallas Mavericks are in an interesting situation with the first pick in the draft and more. But I don't think I know. I know the Knicks, definitely want a leader and someone that may be a different voice. Mike Malone makes sense for a couple reasons. One, his dad, the late Brendan Malone, was a longtime assistant with the Knicks. Mike Malone is from the Astoria section of Queens, and he and I both have in common. Both he, Bill Bellamy, myself, Brevin Knight. We were. I didn't graduate from there, but we were at one time or graduates of Seton Hall Prep in West Orange, New Jersey. To me, bringing in Mike Malone is the same as hiring and firing Thibs. Lloyd Pierce is someone who has gotten the gold stamp from Greg Popovich as a player development guy and someone who is highly respected, defensive minded,
Mhm.
and is very 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 much leader driven and very well respected by his peers and didn't necessarily get the best situation in his exit with the Atlanta Hawks, but has definitely been an assistant and well respected amongst NBA circles for some time. So those are some of the preliminary names, more so Lloyd Pierce and Mike Malone. Jason Kidd is not someone that I have heard is a candidate, but this again is very early.
Yeah, I feel like the Knicks have been so aggressive and deliberate in making these changes, all from Brunson to trading for OG to the cat trade. Like they have been so intentional in just continuing to do what they feel like are upgrades to the team, and it's been working. And I mean, I shared with you on one of our sessions here that I had been questioning ever since they've been getting the roster better and better. It gets me all the way up to the okay, well now it's on the head coach. You got a team. I said to you, I felt like this was one of his best rosters from Chicago, Minnesota. He had a real chance to do something here. And I wasn't vouching for Tibbs to lose his job. I just questioned if with in this era, with that kind of group, with that kind of potential, would he be the guy? I do think it's just surprising because it's like where do you go that you feel like I mean when you say a new voice, a different voice, a fresh voice, something different, that can be meaningful, even if it's just something different, something new, because they have something there. They have
Yeah.
something, and they have a lot of discipline. It's not like you need, I mean, Brunson, McHale, like they got the Villanova Knicks thing going on. They have the right kind of culture just within the roster. So it's not, I don't think they need like a culture guy. I think they really just need new, refreshing. It's like I said to you before, like not that it has to be some, young hot shot like a Joe Mazzulla or JJ Redick, but they should be looking for that kind of new, fresh voice that can give them a different, just a different aesthetic. Even like Thibodeau gives you like Bill Belichick vibes. Like nowadays, that's not what that's not really what you want. I don't think. I think that aesthetic matters.
I'll add, a name that to me has been very well respected amongst players for a while. Like players respond to player developmental guys because those player developmental guys are the guys who are working out with them pregame when the coach is in the back drawing up plays
Hmm.
and his coaching duties. And you've seen guys like the Charlotte Hornets head coach as a developmental guy during his time with the Milwaukee Bucks, and then his name is called. And so if we're going into that spirit, Johnny Bryant is an assistant coach currently with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I would imagine, particularly because he has a relationship with that Knicks organization as a very well respected assistant coach, that if it doesn't go the way many would hope, that the Knicks might double back with Johnny Bryant as a focal point, particularly because he has a relationship with um, Brunson and Hard and some of those other guys. So I'd pay attention to Johnny Bryant, and I'm always going to advocate for my man Sam Cassell, who I've known since my childhood during my time working for the Nets. I talked to Sam a few days ago, and he's enjoying his off season, but Sam has been overlooked for many years as a head coaching candidate. Um, and he has ties to the New York metropolitan area. When he was a net, he lived down the street from Biggie Smalls in Teaneck, New Jersey, and used to share stories with me about Biggie and just how Biggie moved around in that area. And you know, he's definitely tied. Has been an NBA champion multiple times, having been around the likes of Rudy Tomjanovich and John Calipari and many others. But Sam from one wants to be a head coach in the NBA, and from people that I've heard from the thing that gets kind of ruffled in translation is that he doesn't do well in his coaching interviews. And when it comes down to, well, if a play happens like this, how do you draw this up and how do you make this happen? That's been something that I've been hearing from people for a couple years now. And but he's somebody who, again, is in that player developmental vein. I've been around Sam when he was an assistant coach under with the 76ers under Doc Rivers, and Tyrese Maxey has spoken glowingly to me about how much Sam has worked with him and his confidence, and from his rookie year to Sam's last year as an assistant coach. And Maxey shared with me that Sam told him that once you learn how to direct and once you learn how to score and once you learn how to do that at an NBA level, you'll be adaptable in every situation. And Maxie shared with me that Sam was actually instrumental in his rookie year in helping him guide him and what would ultimately be his teammate in James Harden with the 76ers. And that advice early on and that working out early on, really paid dividends to the player that he is now. So, Sam's name is not a name that I've heard with the Knicks. It's still very early. Johnny Bryant is not a resounding name that I've heard. The names that I have heard are Lloyd Pierce, as well as Mike Malone. But I'd like to see Sam Cassell, and I'd like to see, um, you know, I'd like to see him be mentioned. Even the mayor of Baltimore has shared with me that Sam deserves, a head coaching job. He's of course partial because Sam is from Baltimore, but
Hmm.
I'd like to see Sam be mentioned in some of these job hirings as well.
Sam, I am. When I think about his game, I think about how cool that would be to see him be able to coach Brunson. I mean, that lines up for me really. That would be really cool to see. What do you think Rick Brunson is going to look to get an interview? I can't help but think about that possibility.
Rick is definitely someone who has guided minds, particularly coaching in Camden, New Jersey, and then getting hired as an assistant coach with the Knicks. I covered Rick when he was a Knick back when I started during my childhood days. It's kind of full circle for me. I've always respected him as a basketball mind. I remember seeing him and Chris Childs spend many of time on the bench pregame and getting ready for a game. I think he's a basketball mind. He's a basketball lifer. I think in the age of basketball where everybody talks about nepotism, the optics of it are interesting.
Hmm.
Uh, but we've in one season seen LeBron James be teammates with his son. The optics of an assistant coach who was a former Knick coach, his son, that's something we've never seen before on a pro level. We've definitely seen that on a high school level.
Yeah.
I think it would be interesting. The optics would be interesting. It's nothing I've heard currently.
I feel like they were either going to go another like roster change, which they still might make tweaks, but I'm talking about something like serious, like one of their starters, like a real like serious trade um to make another big change. I felt like it was either going to be the roster or the coach. I felt like a change would come with either one of those. And again, not to say they won't make roster changes, but I feel like them starting with the coach kind of lets you know they probably might feel like they have what they need. They may not be looking at trading Cat or doing anything crazy. They're just like, okay, now let's kind of bring in just a new voice, like you said, maybe a new system, a new way of, a new approach to playing. Because I always think about the team you lost to, too. Look at the team you just lost to that beat you, that you may have felt like you shouldn't have lost to, right? And again, a lot of things went Indiana's way, but they beat New York because of the way they play basketball. New York, as much as Tibbs has developed this reputation of, and I think that's the interesting thing too. He has this reputation of accountability and toughness and grit, and New York became a team that just makes silly mistakes. It became this team that can score. Yeah, Brunson, Towns, they can score, but defensively, it wasn't there. The defensive grit and toughness and energy and priority, it they've kind of lost that. So maybe with this new kind of fresh voice, part of what they want to do is like try to get back to being a better two-way basketball team because I think they've come a long way offensively, even under Tibbs.
The way that Thibs has always been described to me, and from my observations of Thibs myself, Thibs is like the high school coach that brought the high school way of playing to the pros. And players don't want to be practicing like the game in the sense of like all that wear and tear. And
Yeah.
I say that from a perspective of the high school that I went to. And I saw how a lot of guys that I went to high school with that played football, for example, that wear and tear in practice and then going into the field, like you're tired, you're winded. And so I feel like Tibbs was criticized for that during his time in Chicago, during his time with Minnesota. And then I feel like when he first came to the Knicks, it was some of that, but then it was like a light switch came on, and he was like, "I got to be a hybrid version of that because
Yeah.
that's not fly there, right?"
Mm.
But I feel like in this instance, somebody's got to take the blame for it, and it's not going to be the players because the players, as far as they got, I don't think they were as expected to get as far as they got. But I feel like the roster that they have, don't touch it, leave it alone.
Hmm.
Like I really look at the Knicks, and I feel like a summer together going into training camp would suit them a lot better than just getting together at training camp and figuring it out.